welcome to Casually Dressed Deep Conversation with me, Greg Chalmers, and my co-host this evening, as always, is this fine-looking young gentleman. It's Christopher Shields. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad, pal. How you getting on?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. Bit chilly, bit depressed because of the lack of sunlight, but I'm getting there, mate. I'm getting there. But our conversation is about to be enhanced tenfold because we've got author Paul Boggie with us. How are you doing, Paul?
Hiya guys, how are you?
All right, mate.
Yeah, really good. Really good.
Good as you can be for me, man. Good as you can be. It's like lockdown's starting to really get to me now because we're getting a solid 3 hours of sunlight a day. But fucking.
That's where I'm quite lucky that my job's actually keeping me out and about. So I am still kind of getting out of the house. So it's not
Almost a year.
Almost a year, man.
It's fucking mental. It is mental.
Crazy, isn't it?
I don't like thinking about it because it makes me feel worse. Because you think, where's it going to end?
Yeah.
And so how's your lockdown COVID experience been, Paul?
Well, back in March, I suppose for a lot of people, lockdown has been really bad. It's not been great for me, but I wouldn't have wrote a book had it not been for lockdown. So I suppose I choose to focus on the positive things in life as opposed to being stuck in the house and not being allowed out, not seeing family and stuff. So yeah, I focus on, I'm a proud author now, so yeah, every cloud has a silver lining, you know. So
Of course, man. Of course, yeah.
It's I think, you know, at least you're putting your energy into something positive, so you've got something out of this experience. That's kind of where we feel as well. I mean, there's loads of people who I think have spent the entire lockdown just completing Netflix and, do you know what I mean, getting fat.
Well, I mean, I've just been doing this podcast and getting fat, so I mean, that's how it's worked for me. Like, I mean,
I was going to say
1 out of 2 is no bad. I mean,
I've been saying I'm not getting fat, but then I've literally just finished eating 3 digestive biscuits, and that there's been like a habit of every evening just going like, do you know what? Three more is not going to hurt. Just fucking cram them.
It's a Tuesday. Why not?
pull a few biscuits.
I know. Aye. Right, Paul. So far, let's get a wee bit of background about you. So first and foremost, what was life like growing up in Edinburgh? Give us a wee bit of backstory.
So my mum had 4 boys. My mum and dad are strict parents, but I grew up in Craigentinney, and relatively rough area, a lot of gang life. So from an early age, my older brother, I'm the second eldest of 4, my older brother was already in a gang as I was sort of hitting the streets as a young boy, and I integrated into that gang from an early age. They were just friends, right? It was just a big group of maybe 40 or 50 young boys running the streets, causing havoc, and it was normal. And, you know, as we got older, things start to progress as everyone gets older and stuff. You start to see things, you start to realise that it is a gang that you're in. But the alternative to being in the gang was to be constantly bullied by the gang. So it was that choice that you had to make. Obviously, my brother was already in there, so it was quite easy for me, I suppose, to fit in. My brother hated it because, you know, my mum, he hated me hanging around. He's 3 years older, and I'll grass you. I'll grass you, mum. I will grass you, mum. They used to batter me. Used to whack me. Used to leather me all the time. And they're like, I'm going to grass you to mum. So he hated it. But, you know, that was what life was like growing up. Experimented with drink probably about maybe 14 or 15. Tried it, didn't really like it. Cannabis was always on the scene for as far back as I can remember. Again, dabbled with it. It was never a problem. Then heroin hit the scene and it took everyone by complete surprise, the whole area by surprise. All of the group that I was hanging around with at the time all started taking heroin, and bar two, perhaps. And I'd always been told growing up from my parents and at school that heroin kills. That was always the word on the street. Yeah. I'd known people that had died from heroin, and it was often spoke about in the gang as well. And when I hit 18, here was this drug that all my friends were taking. They were all taking it, and I wasn't. I was 2 weeks behind the fold. They'd all been taking it for 2 weeks, and I had a big argument with my mum one day, slammed the door, jumped in the car, went to where all my friends congregated, and they were all sitting there taking heroin. And I was angry. I was just in a bad mood that I'd been fighting with my mum for petty reasons, and I'd resisted for those 2 weeks. In a moment of weakness, right, just giving it in. They were always trying to entice me to take it. I was like, no. And then, I took it. I was sick. The very first time I ever took it, I was sick. I went green. I remember the sweat, the pores over my whole body opened up, and I just sweated profusely everywhere. I felt ill. And to this day, I'll never know, guys, why I went back the next night, the next day, the next night. It continued. I suppose part of it was wanting to fit in, wanting to be part of the gang still, not be on my own. So I was driving. So I was a mode of transport for them. So I was an important part of the gang at that point, because I was transport to go and get their heroin. So that was great. Well, I say great, but I felt wanted. I felt needed by them. Yeah. And then as the months went by, it was, taking it every day. That feeling of sickness never really subsided. I always remember the early days of taking heroin, always feeling ill from taking that drug. And I remember going up one night, and we had an area where you would get heroin from. The police had been in and they'd busted the area. And what happens when the police bust an area, they will go through someone's door, and word gets out very quickly amongst all the other dealers that the police are in the area and they're raiding houses. So basically all the heroin dealers will go underground. They won't answer the door. They won't answer their phones. So we were left sitting in my car with no way of getting heroin. And I always remember looking at my friends, and they were all ill. They all looked ill, like really ill, and they were complaining of stomach cramps and shivers and all this sort of things. I didn't feel that bad at that point. I felt a little bit crap, but I didn't feel like what they looked like. And we had to wait. We had to wait quite a long time. Eventually, we got heroin. We went back, took it. Everything was fine. Everything back to normal again. Then, I think it was maybe a few weeks later, same thing. Police busted the area. And I remember sitting, feeling cold turkey starting to come on. What I now know as cold turkey. I didn't know what it was back then. I remember sitting, feeling that, and then realising at that point, that's what my friends had been feeling those weeks before, that this need for this drug. And that's when I first realised that I was in trouble. Because in my mind, heroin still killed. I thought that I'd signed my own death warrant by not being able to just stop. Not being able to just stop because there wasn't any there to get. So just say, right, well, that's it. I'm going to stop now. I feel rubbish and I'm going to go home and I'm never going to take the drug again. There was such a drive towards getting the drug, such a mental problem towards wanting heroin that caused 7 years of my life to be that way, where I constantly fixated on a need for heroin, and the feeling, like, by no way means am I ever going to promote drugs, but I think it's important that I speak about my experience with drugs, namely heroin, because there is such a big problem with heroin, for people that have not been an addict before, to hopefully let them understand a little bit about why addicts are addicts. The feeling that I used to go through cold turkey, it was horrible. The undescribable feeling, you can say shivers and stomach cramps, migraines, and to try and explain it as best I can. But when you take the drug after being in a mode of cold turkey, the feeling that you get when you take heroin after feeling like that is amazing. There's no other words for it. It's amazing. It's an instant thing where you are in physical pain, mental pain as well, but noticeably more physical pain. You take this drug and your physical pain is instantly just amazing. Like, all your aching bones are away, your migraine goes away, stomach cramps instantly away, you don't shiver anymore, you've got a feeling of warmth in your body, where before it was cold, now it's warm. And that's an amazing feeling when you feel like that. So that's why it's difficult. Experience such a hard thing to, when you know there's something there that can make you feel so much better so quickly, is what that does. That actually, you could extend that to alcoholics, I suppose. Prescription medication as well, which I've suffered from as well since I broke my back in the army. But it's like, imagine an alcoholic, you get in all that pain. When they have a drink of whiskey, then all the physical problems that they're having goes away. So it is a definite physical addiction. Mm-hmm. But the problem with society is society doesn't realise that the physical addiction side of things isn't the problem. The mental health issue that is the problem. Mm-hmm. With the addiction. I've had it said to me on numerous occasions, well, how long does cold turkey last, Paul? And I'll say 3 days to a week, maybe a little bit longer, till it subsides and gets a little bit better. Right. So all you've got to do is man up for a week, right? You stop taking that for a week, you're home and dry. Stop moaning about it just there. It's only a week of your life. And then you're going to be off heroin. And then you can go and do anything that you want and stuff. And that is the perception by a lot of people, that it's just stop taking it. Just stop taking it for a week. Get through the cold turkey and never touch it again. Be strong and stuff. But as an addict, or as a recovering addict, it isn't as easy. It isn't as easy as just going through the physical stages of cold turkey and that's it over. You will always have a draw to that drug. Yeah. I'm 16 and a half years off heroin now. So, but I will always be a recovering heroin addict for the rest of my life. Yeah. I'll always be that person. And, that I had to accept that. I tried to deny it at certain stages in my life. I'm recovered. I'm recovered now. People would say, but you're not, you're recovering, Paul. No, I'm not. I'm recovered. I'm 10 years off. I'm 10 years off, or I'm 5 years off. I'm 2 years off. I'm recovered. And reality is, I always will be a recovering heroin addict. Now, for me, I have the tools now and the knowledge to know that I'll never take that drug again. But that's a mental thing that I've had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what mission I'm on now. I'm helping homeless people, but ultimately my expertise, if you like, is with breaking addiction. And that's why I'm doing podcasts galore. I'm in the papers, I'm on the radio, little bits and pieces and stuff, but podcasts have been king for me. You guys are number 14. I'm going on James English shortly.
Good.
So podcasts are king for me because it allows me, like Chris mentioned, it's real people, but it's allowing me to share my story with the world. I've done a podcast in India, Florida, New York, Essex, Fife, Edinburgh.
It's not quite as glamorous as Florida,
Glasgow.
Fife.
And it's like, that has allowed me to sort of spread the word in my book and about what I'm about without having to rely on mainstream media who, to be fair, have patched me a little bit, right? They've patched me because heroin, whoa, right, that's a minefield, you can't talk about heroin, you can't talk about the things that I want to talk about, which obviously we've just touched on briefly already. That sort of thing is, there's such a stigma that it's not allowed. So podcasts for me are the reason why I love doing podcasts, and I'll continue to do them, start my own one, because I don't have to ask permission. Well, you guys, I have to ask permission. You've already told me I can swear if I want.
Do what you want. We
can talk about what we want, and that's all I need to be able to, wind me up at the back and then let me go.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, you're right. There's something a bit more honest about podcasting. It's not manipulated by suits, as it were. You've not got a sort of multinational conglomerate that are controlling the message. It's just
not at our level anyway.
Not at our level.
There are obviously these kind of podcasts that are sponsored by these big companies that are just put out there, and you see all these people, like, you can get somebody like Harry Redknapp's got a podcast. You're not telling me that Harry Redknapp knows how to do podcasts. As good a football manager as he is, like, you're not telling me. He's basically just been like, right, there you go, sit there and talk about this. But at our level, absolutely, it was.
So, Paul, I just kind of want to go back to what you were talking about when you were saying when you were younger and the first times you took it. And what do you think has caused this heroin epidemic in Scotland?
Mental health.
Do you think so?
It's for me personally. See, everyone is different. The thing with heroin is that it fixes mental pain. It fixes trauma. It fixes feelings of neglect, feelings of hurt, pain, anger. These feelings that people in general carry around on a daily basis. When you take that drug, those feelings subside. They no longer matter. Nothing matters in your life at that moment in time when you take heroin. You then become enclosed into a little bubble in your head where everything's bliss.
Yep.
You can be going through the hardest thing in the world, pretty traumatic things that maybe happened to you in your childhood, memories that you relive in your life every day, and then you take this drug, and they're no longer banging around in your head and your mind, and you're not thinking about them. They're gone. So when people are unfortunate enough to try the drug in the first place, and they experience that, You know, and they realise that it's like that. It's obviously it's only a short-term fix, so you have to continue to take the drug to continually feel that way. But the more that you continually to take that drug, the more addicted that you're going to become to that drug.
Yeah.
And then the problem comes where money runs out, or physically you start to lose weight. You go pale, black rings under your eyes, and you oh, I need to stop now. I'm looking really bad. You try and stop, and then you realise that it's not as easy as you maybe once thought before. You know, maybe a week into taking heroin or 2 weeks in, you thought, oh, I can stop any time I want, which is what I did and what a lot of friends that I know, they thought they could stop whenever they wanted. And it isn't that easy. You know, there's a whole concoction of different things that are going on. Not only the fact that the drug is really good for blocking, clouding judgment and clouding everything else. You also have that feeling that I spoke about with the physical withdrawal from the drug, and then to take it, such an amazing feeling. You have that to battle as well as battling your demons for the reason why you take the drug, to block out things that have happened to you in your childhood. You're wanting to block this stuff out. You didn't want to live it every day. And drugs, heroin especially, allows you to do that. So it's so difficult to wean yourself away. And you have to fight on so many fronts. And you have to be successful in all those fronts to be successful away from the drug for a long period of time. So many people relapse.
Mm-hmm.
They go to rehab, and you know, for me personally, right, you can go to as many rehab centres as you want, and you can get off of those drugs as many times as you want. But ultimately, if you're not ready and properly willing to break that cycle, when you come out of rehab, you go back to your old friends. You go back to your old trail of thought. Oh, that happened to me when I was younger. Oh, I hate thinking about this heroin helps. So then people relapse. Such a common occurrence for people to relapse on all drugs. It's such a common occurrence. And it's that mindset. As the mind controls the body, the mind controls everything, and people don't realise it's a choice. Like, I chose to stop taking heroin 16 years ago. I relapsed 13 times and failed 13 times. I promised my mum and my dad, all my brothers, my aunties and my uncles, to their face, I meant it from the bottom of my heart when I said to them, please give me £20, please give me £10, and I promise this will be the last time that I'll ever take heroin. I promise. I meant it. Every word of it I meant at that time. And I failed every single time when I tried it. And it was because I didn't realise that the choice was mine. Mine alone.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't rely on rely on drug counsellors. I couldn't rely on my parents or friends or my brothers to fix me. It really had to come from inside me. My heart wanted it. Those 13 times that I relapsed, my heart wanted it. But my head wasn't working properly.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that it was a choice that I can change by fixing my mind, effectively, the way that my mind thinks, and the way, everything is a choice. To do this podcast with you tonight is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Say vice versa, for you to invite me on, it's a choice. And to understand that and how all that works is how I was able to not just break my heroin addiction. I also had other addictions like methadone, prescription medications. But after that, to start going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, to take up boxing 4 or 5 times a week, to join the Scots Guards, stand outside Buckingham Palace guarding the Queen. That was a choice. And it came from there, but it was a conscious choice to become an author. It's a choice, and it's everything in everybody's life is a choice. And it's difficult for addicts because they're not in that mindset. So that's my mission, is to try and make these people understand. And the way that I want to do that is, ultimately, look at me. First and foremost, I'm not a bullshitter, right? You know, you can ask my old friends about back in Craigentiny taking heroin, and you can speak to some of my army friends. If you didn't believe me, that I used to stand outside Buckingham Palace with my red tunic and bearskin, with pictures of me. I'm not a bullshitter, you know, and my friends will tell you when I was younger how bad I was on drugs. So if I can do it, and I think that I've seen drug counsellors many times. No disrespect to them, they're trying to help. But if you've read it from a textbook about cold turkey, and I'm sitting with a drug counsellor, one-to-one, sitting at opposite end of the table, and I say, "Hi Paul, how are you? How's life?" "Aye, great. Right, I'm a heroin addict and I'm starting to go cold turkey right now, so can we hurry this along?" "Right, aye, cold turkey. So basically, Paul, what you have to do with cold turkey is, you know how you feel a little bit shivery and stuff?" And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, I'm not engaging with that person whatsoever. But when I was on heroin, I met a drug counsellor, Francis, and he had been 8 years off heroin.
Oh, wow.
And at that moment in time, I still believed that I was just preparing to die. Heroin was going to kill me. The doctor had told me. Other people had told me. I dropped below 8 stone. I was preparing to die in my mind. And then I met this guy. He says, "Come over and shook my hand." He says, "Paul, such a pleasure to meet you. Before we go any further, I'm Francis, and I've been where you've been. I'm 8 years off heroin." And it blew my mind. I thought, wait a minute, how are you still alive? That's what I asked him, straight up. He says, "How are you still alive?" And he's like, "You can do it as well." And that stuck with me through my whole life. I never stopped. I never stopped straight at that moment in time. It took years after that. But he had planted a seed in my mind that it was possible. There was a possibility that I could stop heroin. And I always focused on those words with Francis when I was trying to stop. It is possible. But it wasn't until I'd done a course with Sirenians. It's a charity in Edinburgh. I went and done a course with them, and it was for troubled people. And I went along, 4 weeks course. For the 4th week, we went away in a residential, and we went to stay in this big mansion in the middle of nowhere. And it was all like team building exercises. But there was a folder that we got called Breakthrough to Excellence. Now, this course, it was from Lou Tice, this American psychologist. There was videos and stuff. They began that course telling me everyone's a choice. My mind controls everything. And I'm like, bullshit. I remember laughing with other people on the course. I was like, you listen to this crap. Like, they're telling me that it's my choice, I'm a heroin addict. That's fucking bullshit. Right? And I remember being like that, being so deflective of it. So I sat and done that whole course for a week, where they showed in the videos and through this folder and exercises like in the class, they showed elements of why your mind acts the way that it does, why we choose to focus on negative things as opposed to positive things, and all this sort of thing. I didn't think after that week I came home, I didn't think I'd taken on board anything of what he had said for that week. I thought he was just a shit-talking American psychologist that doesn't know me, right? And then it wasn't too long after I was on heroin. was on methadone as well, was on a load of prescription medication, the hydrocodone. I was on a lot of cannabis. And that morning, I woke up. I'd had heroin in my system from the night before, and I had a big mirror above my fireplace, and something was different. I remember walking into the living room. I always make a milky cup of tea in the morning so that I could take my tablets quicker. And I remember getting up that morning, 16 years ago, walking into the room, had all my drugs lined up on the table, as every morning, routine. It's like something's different. And I walked up, put my nose onto the mirror. I'm glad you said I'm allowed to swear, because I would have to ask permission at this point. I put my nose right onto the mirror. I looked in both of my eyes in the mirror, and I said, don't fucking ask for heroin ever again, because you're never getting it. And I got the biggest goosebumps throughout my whole body, and instant, I knew that I would never touch that drug again for the rest of my life. Now, if I'd said that back then, my family wouldn't believe me, my friends wouldn't believe me, because I'd relapsed so many times. Now, I knew. Now, cold turkey hadn't even started at that point, because the heroin from the night before had meant that the cold turkey hadn't properly kicked in at this point. And I knew. I sat down, I drank my milky cup of tea, looked at all my tablets on the table, sat feeling all proud of myself. And I was like, right, bring on cold turkey now, let's just get it over with. As crazy as this is going to sound, I was having a party in my head. Like, I was so happy in my head. And this cold turkey was about to hit, where I was physically going to be drained and feel horrible. And I was having this party, excited, like, what's my life going to be like? Like, I'll be able to start eating again. I'll maybe get a girlfriend. I'll maybe get a car again. I'll maybe get a good job. I was starting to dream at that moment about what future I was going to have. I'm not going to die anymore. I've stopped it, but cold turkey's not even hit yet. So I had a week of going through hell. I never slept. I never really ate very much either. You know, it took its toll. Then, you know, I just knew, and it was like, I went and started going to my mum's every day. What's for tea? And I never ate food at my mum's for years, because she would make me food every single night and I would get left on the plate. Yeah. You know, drugs was my food, and that's why I dropped below 8 stone. And totally malnourished. And then I started going down, Mum, what's for tea? She says, you okay? So I'm good. Didn't want to say anything. Didn't want to tell her. I just wanted to just let them see me sitting, scoffing away, eating all my food and all that, emptying the plate and looking at everybody else's plate. You going to finish that, Dad? Right? And I would sit and I would wolf it on, and then within, you know, a few weeks, I started to get the weight back on my cheeks and stuff. And then I went down and I said to my mum and dad, sat them down, and I said, have you noticed anything? They said, well, I've noticed you've been eating a lot more and you look better. What's wrong? And I was like, there's no what's wrong, Mum. I was like, I wanted to tell you this weeks ago, but I've stopped heroin, and I promise you that it's no, I'm not making it up. That course that I've done with Sirenians, it's taught me something about my mind. And the morning of my youngest brother's birthday, May the 14th, that was when I done it, that morning on the mirror. And I said to my mum, look, on Kyle's birthday, that morning, something changed inside me that allowed me to be able to choose what I do with the rest of my life. And I think even after a couple of weeks, there was obviously understandably an element of he might relapse.
Yeah.
Aye.
He's not far enough down the line. So I just says, you know, just watch. Please just watch me and I'll prove it. So every day, going down, scoffing away all the food and all that. And then, you know, I had so many points to prove to myself, to my family, to my friends, to my so-called friends who were at me to take heroin every day. Paul, you look ill. Just take it. It's going to make you feel better. You can. It's going to make you feel better. And it's like, right, So I went away and I got heroin with him, right? And I remember coming back, getting the tinfoil, chasing the dragon. And I remember sitting in the car, and I was sitting there, and I was like, fucking love this, right? Just sitting. I remember being still so proud, so happy in my head, right? And they're sitting and they're smoking it, chasing it, and they're like, Boggie. And I'm sitting there, nah, it's all right. Smells disgusting, by the way, right? Like, just try it. You can, it's going to make you feel better, mate. Look, you look ill. And that's physically, I was still not looking great. It'll make you feel better. And I remember I sat and smoked a whole bag of heroin. And I remember getting out of the car with a spring in my step and walking home to my flat. And I remember just being so proud of myself. And I'd only been like a week, maybe just over a week, off heroin. And I was doing these things to prove I knew myself, but I was just trying to prove a point to everyone, to them as well, my friends and stuff. Like, there's no point in trying to come to my door every day with bags of heroin. Because if I was going to take it, I would have taken it with there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it. And then I became a loner. You know, I had to withdraw from society. I was in the house. I got myself, my brother gave me a set of dumbbells. Used to sit at night and stuff, and then Rocky, used to put Rocky movies and that on. And I remember sitting watching Rocky, and it was like, proper like lifting me up, gave me like this inspiration. And I remember getting down on the rug, doing push-ups, and I was like a skinny wee rake. And I remember sitting doing push-ups and got these dumbbells, and my arms were like so skinny. I remember, and then I was getting these dumbbells, and I had to take all the rings off and have the lightest weight, right? And I was sitting doing the dumbbells in the house, sitting watching Rocky and stuff. And I'd done it for a few weeks. And then, because I was eating, you know, muscles were starting to pop out that I didn't even know existed. And I was like, right, this is great. So then I went and got a membership for a gym. And I still wasn't working at that point, so I had become addicted to the gym.
Yeah.
I didn't know that back then, I know that now. I just flipped my addiction from drugs to the gymnasium. So I was going to the gym every day, swimming, sauna, steam room, jacuzzi, lifting weights, running, boxing. The boxing for my anger management. I was angry at the world, I was angry at myself, and just being able to pound that heavy bag for an hour. I just always felt so much better and happier after it. And I continued to do that for years, a few years, 5 years I think. And then I started going out running around Edinburgh, right? I started going out just running everywhere, putting weight on my back and running. And then I was working in Morrison's supermarket, and I was like, man, I'm so fit. Like, I'm nearly 30, and I'm so fit. I need to do something with this. So I thought fire brigade. The application was like that. But I was like, fuck that. No, I just never done it. And I was like, the police. I was like, drug squad. Like, I could probably bring something to the drug squad with knowledge and stuff. And I was like, nah, because half of the folk that you know you. And
There's social implications to that one, isn't there?
Yeah, so it wasn't going to work. And then it was like, that. You'll know this, Chris, but the age of the army used to be 27.
That's right, yeah.
I was 29, almost 30. My time for the army had been and gone, right?
Aye.
I'd never thought about the army my whole life. And I remember thinking about having this opportunity, like I was walking along Edinburgh, and there was an army recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in, Pike Major of the Scots Guard sitting at his desk. Just take one look at me. How old are you? And I says, nearly 30, sir. And he's like, you fit? And I said, I go running every day and I'm in the gym every day. And he says, I'll get you Scots Guards. And I was like, I didn't know what the Scots Guards were. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know what they were, right? But he was sitting there in an army uniform, and he told me, I'll get you Scots Guards. I'd heard like 1 Scots, 2 Scots. I'd heard sort of different regiments growing up, but Scots Guards, right, fair enough, right. So he gave me all the leaflets for the Scots Guards. I had an appointment up the stairway, Regiment of Scotland. Sergeant Major had that up the stair. He gave me a leaflet for Regiment of Scotland, right? But this Pipe Major says, I want to see you before you go home.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked back in to see him, and he went, what's that in your hand? He says, oh, this is just the pamphlets for Regiment of Scotland. Like, oh, let's see. So I handed them all. Threw them in the bin, eh? He says, the ones that you've got in your hand there, that's the ones you go home and read. So I went home. I remember, like, he drew a triangle on a bit of paper, because I says, like, am I going to fight? And he's like, the Scots Guards are front line, like they're at the tip, right? And it was like, well, listen, I'm self-talking here. At the time, I was thinking, right, well, like, if you've got a point to prove, why not go fucking full, just fucking do it, and prove the point. So I was like, right. So I went home, and I remember having all these leaflets for the Scots Guards. I put on, the thing that was on at the time was Ross Kemp.
Afghanistan.
I was sitting watching the thing about Ross Kemp, and he was in Afghanistan getting shot at. And I was like, that's fucking Grant Mitchell getting shot at. I found a newfound respect for the guy. I was like, he's over there with these soldiers, right? And you can hear the fucking the rounds coming past his head and stuff. And you can see him ducking, and I was like, that fucking respect to you. And I was like, that's going to be me. And I remember watching them, thinking, like, oh, that's going to be mental. Like, this is going to be mental. And it's like, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to prepare myself mentally to be able to achieve this. And I knew, and it was like, right, they sent to the cataract, basic training, difficult, you know.
Yeah.
I was physically fit. Mentally, I was strong. They knew that. I told them about my heroin addiction. Obviously, I had to go through the medical and stuff. So they were already talking about me before I got there. Are you that crazy guy from the fucking East Coast? The one that was on the smack? Like, sir. Right, we're going to get some stories at you, aren't we? And I'll be like, aye, sir, if you want. And they did on exercises and that. Boggie, what was it like on the smack? I used to have like the platoon commander, sergeant major, all the sergeants, all the lance corporals, and all sitting round with all the guardsmen.
100%, aye.
And they're like, "Come on then, Boggie, what was it like? Like, was that the one?" Like, no. I used to take ecstasy. I used to take magic mushrooms. I used to take LSD. And they're like, "Fucking hell, man, what's that like? Like, what is it like?" And I would just explain to them some of the crazy things that had happened in my life and what the feelings were like, and they're like, "Mate, that's fucking mental. You should write a book." Well, when they said that, part of my rehabilitation was to write down how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I'd already started it back when I was still on heroin. I was already writing down stuff and compiling this little folder of paperwork. Then, when they were all saying you should write a book, and then I thought, heroin to hero. I'll go to Afghanistan, I'll come back to Afghanistan, and I'll publish the book. And then that was the plan. So I got through basic training, went down to London, done my ceremonial duties, Windsor Castle and all that good stuff, loved it, 9 months I was there. Then I went back to battalion. I was up in Edinburgh on weekend leave, on my way back to Cataract, passing Otterburn.
Horrible place.
Aye. Arsehole, driving the car, crashed the car. So we were doing 70 mile an hour. There was snow on the fields. There was ice on the road. There was a left-hand bend coming up. The car went into a skid, and we were snaking, and he was just going, "Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck." And I was dozing because he had the heaters on in the car. I remember just opening my eyes and feeling the car going like that. And I remember looking, and there was a big fuck off boulder at the side of the car, at the side of the road. The left-hand bend. Like, we're no fucking making that. So I fucking braced up in the car seat. There was a Fijian behind me. Right, he was sitting behind me. Well, he never had the seatbelt on, right? But anyway, what's happened is the car has obviously went straight on. you know, as the bend. The fucking boulder hit on my side. I broke my back at that point, right? The impact of that boulder broke my back. Now, the car was still travelling at a fair old speed. So as we left the road, we went down this grass verge into long grass and hit a fence or something, hit something heavy that broke the car to a sudden halt. Well, arsehole Fijian, never had the seatbelt on. All his weight came into the back of my seat, broke my back seat forward and pushed it and fucking crushed my spine.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He had a bump on his forehead. The driver had a bruised pinky nail. They're saying to me, Boggie, get out the car, man up, get out the fucking car. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, right? I was wondering like a little bitch, right? They were like, sprained your back or what? I've sprained my back before. I knew. I watch a lot of American movies. The engine bay was smoking, right? And I'm thinking this fucking thing's going to blow up. That's genuinely what I thought. It was a brand new Kia, and it was probably the steam for the radiator. To be fair, but I just fucking seen all this fucking smoke and all that. Right, my face was all smashed. I couldn't really open my eyes. I'd hit the windscreen, so I remember opening the car door in this long grass with the snow, and I just took my seatbelt off, and I just went and picked myself up, and I collapsed into the grass. And at that moment, I was like, "This car's going to blow up. It's going to blow up." So I just grabbed the reeds of the grass, as bunches of them, and pulled and kept pulling and pulling, and I was screaming like a little sister I was, right? Pulling and pulling and pulling, and then I thought I got far enough away, thought I was going to pass out with the pain, and then I remember lying in the grass. The road was miles away, and it was up a big massive hill, and I remember lying in the grass. Didn't ask me why I fought this, guys, right? This is pure stupidity now. The pain in my back, that I can't describe how sore it was, right? But I thought it would be a good idea to fucking pull my army jacket up and pull all my stuff up at the back, and pulled it right up, and I put my bare back into the snow, and I was like, oh, that'll fucking numb it. No. Never done nothing for the pain, but hyperthermia was...
As you said, you dropped your body temperature massively there, like, you know what I mean?
That was me. I'm fucking lying there like that, shivering, right? And then, like, arsehole drivers on the phone, walking about in a daze. And we are, I think, Autobahn and blah, blah, blah. Fijian guy, fuck knows what he was doing, right? I think he went away and got a jacket and all that. This Chinese woman had stopped. She must have seen it. I always remember a wee chubby face and her glasses. She come down, and I remember I couldn't open my eyes really. I was lying on the ground like shivering, and she's come up and she's took my hand. She's put her hand behind the back of my head and all that. She says, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Paul." Paul, and then she was like, "You're going to be alright. An ambulance is on its way and stuff." And then it was 40 minutes I fucking lay in that snow because of the weather.
Aye.
The ambulance turned up. I always remember the guy saying, "Suspected back sprain." And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's no, I was trying to say to him, it's no back sprain, I've sprained my back, I promise it's no. So he's went on the radio, they've got the back brace board thing, and then, because it was a steep incline, we had to go the long way round to get into the ambulance. And at this point, I'm like, morphine. Right, I need morphine. So I got into the back of the ambulance and cut all my clothes off in the back of the ambulance. Cut everything off. Lying on this thing in the ambulance. They can only give you like 10 mil on transit, right? So I'm saying to the young laddie, morphine, please. Please just give me morphine. He says, "Paul, you've had it. That was your morphine that you just had." I says, "Are you kidding me on?" I says, "Please, I need more, like my back." And they're like, we can't. So that was about 30-35 minutes drive from there to Newcastle, Royal Infirmary, Victoria. Drove there. I remember getting taken straight in, and I said to the nurse right away, "Morphine, please, morphine." She came in with a wee tray, a wee trolley thing, and she was like, got my thing. She gave me 5 mil. She says, "Can you feel that?" And I says, "No." I was great. Wasn't great, but I was like moaning, groaning, like, please. I was pleading with them, really, like, please, just give me morphine. And then she put 5 in. She says, "I can't feel it." And she says, "Right, I'll give you another one." So she put another 5 in. I says, "Please." I says, "I need something for this pain." I says, "I didn't know. I used to be a heroin addict." I says, "Is that why I can't feel the morphine? I don't know, but I'm in so much pain." And it was 3 or 4 jags. And I remember feeling it in my arm. Yeah. Not in my back. I was still in a lot of pain. I remember feeling the morphine going up there. And I was like, whoa, I can feel something. But it stopped about my shoulder. But I could feel it in my arm. She says, "Right, I'll give you one more." And I always remember, she gave me one more. And I remember that feeling going over my back. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I was looking at my pals, 2 army pals were sitting there, and I was like, "What the fuck's happened?" And they're like, "Boggie, you fucked your back, you've probably sprained it or something." Like, that's what they were still saying to me in the hospital, eh? And I was like, "Ah, you're right." I was laughing in that. I started laughing, eh? I was like, my face was all fucked, eh? And I was like, oh man, like, what the fuck's going to happen? And then I went in that fucking polo mint.
Yeah.
That polo mint fucking machine. I never gone in there. That was hard. Never understood. I was on an orange board, and they had to put me on a green board or a white board to go on this polo mint. And it took 4 of them or 5 of them to lift me. It was hell on earth. I was like, they're trying to move me onto this board. I was like, "Can you not just put me in with the orange one? Leave me where I am." But anyway, they put me in, came out and they said, "Right," they came in to see me, says, "Right, we've heard what's happened. Basically what's happened, right, is you broke your back, right, you're L1, but the impact, your lovely Fijian pal that was sitting behind you, he's the one that impact, because your back was weakened so much by the initial break,
right,
the bone had weakened so much that the impact on the back of the chair is what's compressed your spine." Fuck. And I was like, "Right, can I still be in the army?" And they were like, "Well, that's not for us." And I was like, "Right." And I was like, at that point, I was like, "Fuck it, man, I'll get through this."
Yeah.
And then I got put on a ward. Fuck, the nurses in Newcastle, the following night, they had me on morphine, so I was alright. The following night, they're coming round, it was the 5th of December that the accident had happened, right? And all these nurses had turned up at my bedside, and they were thinking this thing, and they were getting ready to take me away. And I says to them, "What's happening?" And they says, "You're going to theatre." And I remember kicking off at them. Right? I remember kicking off at the nurses. And I says, "Theatre? Is you kidding me on?" See, "I just broke my back yesterday. I'm not going to go and see a pantomime." Right? And they were like, "No. You're going to get surgery." And I was like, "No, fucking no." I says, "No, I'm not." No. I says, "Are you telling me that's my only option?" And they were like, "Well, it's not your only option.
Take me to the pantomime instead."
"Oh, no, I'm not."
I had to wait on the specialist to come in on Monday morning. He came to me and he says, "Paul, I hear you're refusing surgery." I says, "Well, it's not that, doctor. I never even got asked. They just came up and ready to take me on Saturday night or whatever." I says, "Is that my only option?" He says, "Well, no." He says, "Paul, you get surgery, I can have you up on your feet within 2 days. If you don't, you need to lie in that bed for 4 weeks and don't move, because your spine is not stable." And I was like, 4 weeks? I'm a fucking soldier, for fuck's sake. I'll manage that, no worry. Right, so I was like, right, 4 weeks it is. My dad had a bad back surgery when I was younger. Right. That was why I was put up about them operating, because he never really quite walked the same after. I was like wiggle my toes, right, to the thing there. It's like, as long as I can wiggle my toes, I'll get through it and stuff. I might end up in a wheelchair if I let you operate, no disrespect, right? Which is true, right?
Yep.
I was like, I'll hang on my chances. So I lay in that bed, Newcastle. Wow, that wasn't nice. I'm a smoker. So coughing. I remember the coughing. Like every time I coughed or I sneezed, especially, fucking pain right in the base of it was shooting right in my back, and I remember like screaming out loud at night, begging them for morphine, and they wouldn't give me any. They refused, point blank refused, to give me morphine. Said they can't keep you on morphine, Paul. I was like, but I'm still in so much pain. Started giving me fucking ibuprofen. Right?
Oh, come on.
And there was a codeine tablet. There was 2 codeine tablets, 2 ibuprofen, a yellow Valium, and some other tiny wee tablet, and a wee cup. Took the tablets, and they just never done anything. Now, do you know in the hospital how you get the buzzer?
Yep.
You get the buzzer to call the nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had that. I didn't want that. I wanted the fucking other thing, guys. Kind of things where you can self-administer the morphine, right?
I had that when I was in hospital. Brilliant quality.
That's what I needed, right?
Aye.
But because they never gave me that, and because they were refusing me morphine, and I was coughing and sneezing and agony, I was constantly on the buzzer. But what I had done was I'd started to piss off the nurses.
Ah, right.
They would come and say every 4 hours, Paul. So I would take my ibuprofen and my wee codeines and my tablets and that, and then half an hour, 40 minutes later, I would be on the buzzer, say, I can't feel these tablets. Like, I'm still in agony here. This was only a few days after breaking it, and I was like, still in agony. Every time I coughed and ringing the buzzer, I started winding them up, so they started to neglect me. Like, they started to purposely ignore me. I didn't know if they even turned my buzzer off. Maybe they did, and I sort of understand it, but I remember hating them. I remember hating them quite a lot when I was lying there. Then I got the head boss, and he doubled all my meds, doubled everything, and and then I got shipped to Edinburgh, and then it was just, I was back in my flat, and then I was back on all these opiate medication, guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Tramadol, cocodamols, and then within probably 6 months, or I realised that like I'm addicted to these. I'm addicted to these tablets, and it didn't sit very well because I'd been a heroin addict, and I was now went full circle, and I'm back on these tablets, something that I never wanted to do ever again. And then I started going back down to Catterick. I got a welfare visit, and they said, "Look, Paul, you're festering here, pal. You need to get back in you're a pack animal. I want to take you down to Catterick, get in amongst the boys and all that. You'll be on no duties, don't worry about it." So the captain took me away doing that, dropped me off in my room, had the boys come up visit me and everything, and then I started on my rehab and all that sort of stuff. Seen the military doctor, and I was like, "Can I go to Afghanistan with my pals?" And they were like, "Is that realistic?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to try my best." Is that a no? It says, "Well, you need to do some fitness tests." So after extensive rehab, I done the fitness tests, and I tried to bluff it. But it was on the drill square. Sergeant Major's office, the company commander's office were in sight of me, and the PTI's come in with me, my mate, and he was like, "You all right, Boggie?" And I was like, "Aye." I was like, "I need to take this fucking weight off my back, mate." He says, "You need to do it on the drill square." And I was like, "Fuck, right." So you have to do it on 2 consecutive days.
That's
you
right.
have to do it back to back.
Yeah.
So the first day, I managed it just without wincing too much, and I managed to straighten up a wee bit to make it look like I was all right. I was just trying to fool them, eh? And then the second day, we came in after all the mile, however many miles it is, we came in, and then fucking taking the day sack off my back with the weight on, and as soon as I pulled it round to the front and made it put it on the fucking drill square, I couldn't straighten up.
Ah.
My back had went, and I got clocked through the offices, and I remember turning around and fucking shaking my head, and I was like, I was like, that just crushed me. I was like, I'm not getting to go to Afghan now, eh? And then they're like, nah, mate, there's other things you can do and all that. Like, and I was like, nah, mate, it's not the same. And I was like, so I'd got a job in the stores. No, I couldn't lift anything. Right, it was a dog's body making fucking brews for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I got a job in the stores and stuff, and then my mate, who was a Q bloke, wasn't his fault. He didn't know how I felt. But my pals, who I was in basic training with, were in Afghanistan, and when they came back, they got their medals.
Yeah.
Who was in charge of their medals?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I'm sitting fucking, well, guardsman so and so, and I was just like, and then I met the doctor and she says, look, medical discharge, and I was like, no, I didn't want to, ma'am, please. And I was like, and the more time I had to go and see her every week. She's look, Paul, realistically, your back's not going to get any better. You're going to be on these tablets for the rest of your life. You have to just accept it and move on and think of what else you can achieve in your life. And then finally, I said, right, oh, okay, ma'am, a medical discharge. And then I left the army broken, literally, but mentally as well. I was just broken. I went back to my flat where I used to take heroin and remember sitting on all my tablets, and I abused my prescription medication. And I was abusing them to the point where I was starting to get an almost heroin feeling from the tramadol and from the codeine.
Mm-hmm.
If you take enough codeine, which is an opiate, same as heroin, if you take enough codeine, you can start to get the itching in the nose, the burning in the eyes, and it got like that. And I was just, I'd given up. These white coat specialists, nurses, physiotherapists, they'd all told me, you're on these tablets for the rest of your life. And so I'd given up completely.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but was that all like military doctors then? Was that the military system where they done that? Because it's all the hallmarks of it, just that kind of one size fits all. Look, this is what you've got, and kind of just accept it. I think it's one thing, having recently just left, it's one thing that they're maybe getting slightly better at, is trying to kind of best, so like somebody like yourself, you're going, right, okay, well, you can't, okay, so you're not going to be a kind of a frontline kind of, for like, this is a bit of a shite term now, frontline, because there isn't really a frontline anymore, but you're not going to be an infantry soldier or a guardsman anymore, because you're now physically, your body's not able, but they're better now at kind of utilising other people's skills. So you could have probably found that now that if it had happened kind of now, you'd have maybe been removed into somewhere else or something other, kind of they've refound kind of another way to utilise you and keep you in the fold and keep you having a purpose. But I think back then it was just so, because it was so Afghan centric, wasn't it? Everything was just, every unit was just in that kind of that cycle of, right, okay, this is your training year, this is your tour, recovery, train, tour, recovery, and obviously yourselves as well, as you've got the ceremonial to throw in amongst that. So yeah, I think it's a bit shite. It's shite to hear that you're just, that people are just kind of, right, well, this is you. That's you on the scrap heap, isn't it?
Like the rehab side there through the army was amazing. I did get, like I say, I got put into the stores, but I wasn't able in the stores to lift anything, which is what a storesman needs. Yeah. So they moved me to the training wing. And they say, right,
you don't get any qualifications to teach anything there, have you then?
No, it says that you can go and deal with the maps, Boggie. Can you lift the maps? And I was like, maps? Maps, that's fine. When you get a fucking box of maps, 1,000 maps, it's a box.
Fucking heavy, by the way. Aye, they're heavy, like, genuinely.
They would always say, it was always hard because whenever there was a lifting job entailed to me. All the ranks knew me and knew what had happened to me. So whenever a lifting job came in, Boggie can't lift that. Go and grab some of the other guys to lift it. And what was happening is they boys were getting pissed off with me because they were getting pulled off of their fucking cigarette breaks. And they were getting told to come over and move the mats for me. And I heard them like, why the fuck's Boggie not doing this? This is fucking Boggie's job, man. Why the fuck are we getting... we should beat Scott and we're having to do this for him and all that. And I heard that. I remember hearing my mate and I was like...
See, the thing is, right, see, for every one person like yourself who had a genuine fucking like back injury, there was 4 or 5 that were fucking blagging it. Do you know what I mean? You knew it, like, honestly, see, back injuries and the injuries, there's fucking hundreds of them.
Too
many. These guys going, oh, I've got a fucking bad... I mean, I remember I was DS, I was doing a Lance Corporal's exercise, like fucking Carter course for guys being promoted to Lance Corporal. And with this one guy, he'd a bit of a fall and he was like, oh, my back's fucked. And like went through it and you're kind of like, well, right, okay. Took him off the exercise and I remember had to driving him back. So I drove him back to his pad, to his family's house. And I'd been to hospital, that's it, been to hospital and then back to the hospital to his house. Back to his house and he's like, right, okay, cheers Shields, I'll see you later. And he went on to, and before I could even think, I was like, pulled the handbrake up, he was out the car, into the boot, and his Bergen and that, swung it, one strap, swung it onto his back and walked in, and I'm like, you blagging bastard. Like, he just didn't want to be there. I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to be there, just fucking have the balls and all that. But don't, like, I used to get so annoyed at these people. Don't pretend to have an injury, because what you're doing is you're taking away from the people who have got genuine injuries. Mm-hmm. And these guys are fucking having to deal with the stigma of people going, fucking blagging. He's blagging it. He just wants to fucking, his wee laminated biff chit and all the rest of it.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I mean, it's fucking shit. It used to fucking really wind me up. And then there was like, it's just, it's wrong, mate. It's wrong. And I can totally, I can see it all. I know exactly what you've kind of, you've gone through, because there's times when you look in the war, people blagging it, you can see it.
I was just quite lucky that I got on well with the officers and sergeant majors and stuff, and the sergeants. I got on with them. I was older than a lot of them. I was 30 when I joined the guards, so but I got on well with them as men.
How did you find that, by the way? So, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off here. Right. How did you find that going through training, being like a 30-year-old? Because you were probably older than your section commanders, older than the platoon sergeant, definitely older than the platoon commander. Like,
I was older than them all. I was the oldest man, and then just call me granddad and stuff. Like, just the usual, right? Okay, it was fine, but we had the 1.5 miles. Day 2 of getting there, and I had been paranoid that these 18-year-old whippersnappers were going to run rings around me. So the last couple of months prior to going down to Catterick, I trained especially even harder, and I got to day 2 and saying, right, go out and do your 1.5 miles, and went out and done the 1.5 miles. It was like 45 men. And I came 3rd. Wow. So I remember, kind of, as you come in, you get lined up in the order that you come in. I remember standing there, right, blowing at my hoop right enough, right, but I remember standing there, and Sanchez and Coleman were 1 and 2, tiny wee guy, and this tall guy. Remember standing there, right, and then all the officers came in to meet everybody and all that, and all the sergeant major and all that. They've come along the line, they're talking to number 1, well done. Blah, blah, blah. Number 2, well done, blah, blah, blah. They come to me, fucking hell, how old are you? And I'm like 30, sir. And then, like, he looked down the line. I remember I'm looking down the line. And everybody doing the line, all the fucking 42 of them were all looking up the line. Right? Everybody's all heaved for like that. And none of them knew really who I was or even that I existed at that moment. And he said, you fucking seen this? And take a look. How old are you? And I was like, 30, sir. Fucking 30-year-old. Right? And he's fucking showing all yous up. Get a grip. And then he was like, right, well done, me man. Keep it up. And then, and that sort of, from that day 2 basic training, that followed me through when I started to do my weighted tabs as well. I was at the front. I was the fittest in my section. I was the fittest in basic training. Two. There was two, me and Campbell, Welsh guards and myself, were always battling for 1 and 2. And it was like that. So my drill was really bad, right? Fucking being a guardsman, right? Fucking
for a guardsman as well, Jesus.
But, you know, I was learning how to march and all that, and I was shit at it. But because I was physically fit and robust, that made up for my shortcomings when it came to the drill. I got a little bit I never got a pass, but I think if I was really unfit, I think I would have got a much harder time through basic training than what I did.
Yep.
A lot of the sergeants used to come in to basic training at night time and all that, just to see me. And kind of like when they walk into the room, one of the trainee guardsmen has to shout "room," and everybody braces up and stands, right? We're all fucking standing there. I used to fucking shit myself every time that happened. And then just standing there like fucking 10 o'clock at night, you're sitting on your phone when you should be blowing your boots or something, I don't know, right? You're sitting fucking like that, and they come in and it's like, can't always remember, where's Boggie? Oh, for fuck.
Oh
no. Here, sir. He says, sir, fucking sergeant, I work for a living. And I was like, yes, sergeant. He's went, aye, I've been hearing a few stories about you. You on the smack? And I was like, aye, sergeant. He's went, aye, sorry, stand at ease. Right, sit down. And I was like, sit on my bed and all that. It's like, fucking hell, man. Like, I've just been seeing the fucking, talking to the PTI about your fitness and all that, and you're on the fucking smack. Like, and then it was that sort of, he used to drop into basic training to see me every week. Yeah. Can just come in and just say, you need anything.
Yeah.
Right? If you need anything, come over and ask me and I'll fucking square it away for you. So, like, it was, basic training was hard mentally and physically, but it was, well, I done it, like.
Rewarding.
So, and it's quite, like, I mean, I've been part of a training team. I was at Harrogate. I was sure part of training recruits at Harrogate. And it's one of those things you can tell straight away. See the ones that have got a little bit about them mentally, like are mentally prepared for it, they do fucking far better. And obviously you coming off the back, like actually having to really just come off the back of a battle with your own mind and kind of and how you deal with an addiction to heroin, like an addiction. See, doing that and staying awake for a couple of hours on stag on a night time, fucking easy. You know what I mean? Or coming in and being like, I'm a bit tired, I don't really fancy ironing my kit. Fucking, this is easy. Do you know what I mean? Did you find that you found like you had a lot of the young lads in your section, did they end up kind of, did you find you end up looking after a lot of those sort of guys as well? Or was it just a case of you kind of looked at you end up just kind of being a kind of an exemplar, like, and the boys looked up to you and just went, well, there's an example, or did you kind of bring people along with you?
Yeah, they were all young guys. Some were really young, some were like 18, and I was old enough to be their dad. And in basic training, acted like that to a few of them who were struggling. Mentally, they were struggling, and they would come and talk to me, and it helped me because I felt like I was helping them to sort of get them through basic training. Like, they were getting bollocked for doing something wrong. Like, I fucking want to leave, this is shit. Fucking, we get punished and it wasn't my fault and all that. And they say, but that's just party it. Like, there'll be a time when that's not going to always be like that, but we're all in this together.
Yep.
And we were one section, we were all Scottish. Well, most of us were Scottish. Like, we're all in this together. And it would be like, so I took a few of them under my wing. And a lot of the things in basic training, like, certainly because I was fitter than everybody. So when it came to people getting remedial PT and all that, it was always the PTIs used to pass responsibility to me.
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
Right? Because it'd be like, right, Boggie, one section's fucking failing massively here, right? And you need to catch up with the other 3 sections. And I'm now tasking you to get these 2 lazy arses up to scratch. I want you, when you're out, and it was like, yes, sir, yes, staff, wasn't it? All the staff. Yes, staff. Yeah. And then, you know, they would be. I would take them under my wing and say, well, look, I'm going out for a run tonight, just for half an hour, round the blocks a couple of times. Just come out with me, and we'll make a point of running past the sergeant's office, right? And we'll make a point of letting them see that you're at least trying.
Yep.
That's all they want. They're only bored about anything else. They just want to see that you're trying. And it doesn't matter how fit you are.
That FaceTime fizz.
Aye, but it's like, it was always like that. It was always like, see, with my drill, I was terrible at the drill, right? Really, really bad. I was behind everybody. Teaching an old dog new tricks. Well, struggled. Really did struggle with drill. But the thing that got me through, I think, was that all the instructors could see that I was trying my hardest.
Yeah.
I was getting annoyed at myself and pissed off when I got it wrong. I wasn't laughing and I wasn't chinning it off, and I was practicing on my own time. I was trying my hardest and I just couldn't quite get it. And I think that was why I never got fucking back squatted.
Mm-hmm.
Was because, you know, they could see that I was trying, and they were like, by the time you get to London, you better have this fucking shit nailed, right? Or you're going to make us look like dafties.
Yep.
So I was like, I didn't worry, I will, and I did. You know, I did get it. I'm still not great at it. You know, some people are just natural at the whole the drill movements and stuff. I never was, but I was near the physical side of it. Like, you know, get the weight on my back and tell me to go 20 miles, and I'm happy.
So tell me, when you get discharged, medically discharged, sorry, and where did the book come in? Like, so at what point did you actually think, right, I'm actually going to action this?
So I got medically discharged in 2015, and I went back to Edinburgh, and I was addicted on my tablets and stuff again.
Yeah.
The title of the book, Heroin to Hero, was...
There it is.
There it's there. Hold that, get it a wee bit closer to this. Get it to the screen. Get it to the screen. There we go. I like a bit of that. That's it. Yeah. Good man.
I couldn't have the title of that book anymore, because I was never going to be a hero, because I never got to go to Afghanistan. Heroin to still an addict. Heroin to something like that. And that was my mindset. At the time, I was struggling. I had a breakdown because I was back being an addict again. And then I went through that whole troubled time. Then in March, at the beginning of the lockdown, I was on 8 tramadols, and I was on smoking marijuana, quite a lot of it, every day. And I was abusing my prescription medications and stuff in March. And I was sitting listening to Tom Walker on Spotify, on Shuffle. I'd never heard them before. I just hit Shuffle and Tom Walker came on. And I remember sitting on my phone and I was like, I'm going to, I knew I had the book because I was in lockdown. I thought, I'm going to write this. I'm going to finish this book in lockdown if I'm stuck in the house. So I went and got the folder, and I'm sitting with the folder, looking at it. Got a pen and paper, sitting listening to the music. Got a bit of pen and paper. I was like, right, book. So I started writing, blah blah blah, writing. Then I got to the bit when I'm writing about Sirenians, about doing the course about my mind.
Yep.
It's like, fucking wow, boom, light bulb. I'm sitting writing about it, and I'm re-educating myself as I'm writing, because I'm reliving that moment when I was on heroin and breaking it.
Yep.
I'm reliving that moment in my mind and in my heart. I'm reliving it, and I'm writing it. And I remember writing the book and thinking, again, the same question in my mind happened. What do you want? When I was on heroin and I had that moment, the first question was, what do I want? The answer was instantaneous. No, to be a heroin addict. Boom. Right, well, no. That's it. I've decided for you. Yeah. Right, boom. And that was it. So I was like writing a book. And I was like writing a book, Power of the Mind and all that. And I was like, fucking wait a minute. Whoa, and I got goosebumps. It wasn't as big as the time on heroin, but I got goosebumps. And I was like, try it. Wow, try it. What do I want? I didn't want to be on all these tablets and all this fucking marijuana, right? I didn't want to be like that. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, I remember instantly thinking, like, I've got a crushed spine and I'm in a lot of pain every day. So I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself. But I remember instantly feeling excited again. But I didn't hold it back this time. I did not hold back. I went and woke my wife up. I ran up the stairs. 3 o'clock in the morning, right? She's out for the count. I ran up, woke the wife up. Babe. Like, and I'm telling her, and I was like, babe, I started writing the book, right? And see, when I was writing the book, and I've been writing about this, blah, 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 right? And I've realised that I can choose. And I'm choosing not to be on all these tablets and stuff anymore and all that. Right, aye, well done, babe. She went back to sleep. I came back down the stair, and I remember getting 3 days I sat up straight, no sleep, 3 days writing, right? I was still smoking marijuana as I was writing it, right? And I remember still taking my tablets. And I was like, right. I was anxious about the pain in my back and if I was going to be able to achieve anything. So I'd re-educated myself whilst writing the book, and I started doing Facebook Live videos every night, right? In a lot of pain, but I was on my tablets and stuff anyway. I tapered off. I went for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5, half, in the space of a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I remember sitting, looking at this fucking half a tablet, thinking, like, really? My back? Wow, like, my back's not any sore. So I was getting up and I said to my wife, babe, go and come and have a look at something for me. So I'd get up the seat, I'd sit back down. I'd get up, stand up, and sit back down. And I was like, I'm off all my tablets. She went, no, you're not. I said, I promise. I says, I've tapered off over the last few weeks. I've just been reducing them. And I said, I'm not on any now. And she says, how's your back? And I says, look, I'm showing her. She went, babe, that's amazing. And your back's not, I says, it's no any more safer than what it was on my tablets. I says, oh, these doctors have been lying to me. And I was like, initially, I got angry, guys. I'm not going to lie, I'd got angry. Yeah. I'd listened to these doctors that were telling me, you're on tramadol forever. You're on codeine forever. Deal with it. I got angry and I was like, fuck. Like, I've wasted all these years of my life wasting away and having this fucking mental breakdown and just wasting everything away. And I was like, right, that's only going to hurt me to go down that route. It's only going to hurt me. So I was like, just look at the positive. You're off all your fucking tablets. You're not on any drugs. You're drug-free, like you never thought you were ever going to be in your life ever, right? Let's get the fucking book and let's smash the book out. And then when I was sitting listening to Tom Walker, I was listening to Leave a Light On. And then I was thinking, what am I going to do with my life? I need something, right? And I was like, homeless people.
Yep.
Right? There's a lot of veterans on the streets, which is disgusting. It's disgusting as anybody on the streets in 2020. So I remember sitting there thinking, right, you're one man, right? You're one man that nobody knows, right? But something had changed in me forever. Something in my heart had changed, and I was like, right, you're on a mission now. You're on your own mission, right? Fuck everybody else that's going to doubt you, like they doubted you when getting off heroin. They doubted you to join the army. They doubted you to be an author. Fuck the lot of them. Just there, focus on it. So I was like, right, all the profits in my book, I'm going to donate to homelessness in Scotland. Then, after I wrote the book, the following night, I got pen and paper, and I started writing a business plan on how to abolish homelessness in Scotland. And ultimately, at the bottom, the same thing kept coming up. Funding. I kept underlining it. I've got all these things written out, right? All these plans. That's common sense to me. It'll be common sense to you guys when I tell you, right? It's common sense. And I've kept writing it all down, plan. I drew me diagrams and pictures and shit. Right, what do you need? What does that need to happen? Funding. Only thing that's stopping that from happening, money. The only thing stopping that from happening is money. So I was like, fucking hell. All I need is money. So rather than starting a GoFundMe or waiting to sell 1 million copies in my book, which I'll fucking probably take forever, it's like, can I wait? I need patience for this shit. So I was like, right, what do I do? So I was like, right, billionaires. I'm not scared. I'm not intimidated to pull my feet into anybody. I'll fucking go to the billionaires. I'll go to the government. If they chin me off, I'll go to the billionaires. All the billionaires in Scotland, or the UK, or the world, there's one that exists right now that'll help me. I know that. To this day, I still know that. I've just not found them yet. They've just not met me yet. Sit down, have a cup of tea and a biscuit, tell them my story, show them my business plan, say, look, sir, one of your bank accounts, one of them, if you gave me 5% in one of your bank accounts, you would not even know it's away. You can take my word for it. I'll take that money to Scotland. I will invest it where in the things that need done, and I will showcase what I can do myself, and then I'll come back and I'll meet you, and I'll show you what I've done with your money. I'll show you what I've done. I'll show you the lives that I've saved, and I'll show you the lives that I've changed, and then hopefully you'll further invest and bring some of your rich pals along with you. For me, up there now, even still, it's common sense to get to that point, but it's more difficult in reality, as it's proven, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I think for a billionaire, though, it's legacy stuff, innit? Do you know what I mean?
That is, yeah, you're absolutely right, yeah.
They would
something's ego then, isn't you?
Yeah, and that's they want that, so it's finding that one, right? Or two or three, as many as they want to get on board as they can. First of all, I have to get past the stigma.
Yeah.
Heroin addicts steal, heroin addicts cheat, heroin addicts are dishonest, heroin addicts are this and that and other. This guy might still be like that, right? But because I've got the army behind me, supporting me, and the fact that I went on and got nothing but nice things said about me from the army, I'm hoping, that when the time comes and people looking into my background, I was, sorry for using the C word, but I was a good cunt, right? I was known as a good cunt, right? So, I was a fit cunt and a good cunt, right? So you can edit that out, right? But,
no, sorry, that's staying in, don't worry.
But, these rich, mega rich people say, well, okay, what? We'll give them a wee bit of money. Then I'm going to get the containers. I've already got the companies ready to give me a massive reduction in price for helping the homelessness. I've got the solar panel companies willing to hopefully donate. If not donate, they're going to give me a massive reduction in costs. I think I will get them to donate, right? But I have to raise awareness of what I'm doing, and hopefully try and bend them into, force them into it. So I get
if the drums are banging loud enough, mate, the people bend over themselves, mate. Exactly.
So you get these homeless people. Homeless people didn't need to be put into a B&B for a few weeks and kicked out back on the streets, then back into the hotel, and then back and forward. They need somewhere. So these containers are like Lego blocks.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands of them all over Scotland, not being used, sitting derelict, right, rotting away. I've got welders on board, I've got joiners on board, I've got plumbers on board, I've got electricians on board. Companies who will help me to build these Lego block containers into homes for the homeless people. Put them in. Well, they've now got a fixed abode. But they're not going to go straight to work in, because the reality is they come off the streets are going to be struggling. But everybody has got a use. So individually get to know them. What did you do before you were homeless? What's your skills? What do you want to do in the future? Do you have any problems with addiction? So I'm going to create my own rehab. I will help all these people, all these homeless people that are addicts. I will help them as much as I can, breaking their addictions. But, you know, they're not going to get a job right away, so they've not got money for gas and electricity. So we need to find a way to keep these containers warm in the winter when it's snowing and they're going to potentially die. So let's fire up some solar panels. 2021, like the cheapest chips now.
100%.
Fire up the solar panels. Then in the winter time, they can hit the switch and the containers, they'll be insulated anyway, but the containers will now hold warmth, so they're not going to die. And then from that point, try and fix the addiction problems where there are some, and then start looking at building more. So these people that, what I would do is the first few containers that I put in, I would specifically target people on the street, veterans that are homeless, that have got qualifications in welding, qualifications in joinery before they were homeless. You know, say, look guys, I've got somewhere for you to stay, come in, day up your own place, day up your own pad, then when you're done there, I'm going to put more containers in, and then you can give me a hand, and we will get government funding, we'll get funding to generate you a wage so you can earn your own dollar, you're doing something amazing, and let's see it spread, and let's abolish it. Let's not have any homeless people, certainly no veterans on the streets. And it's a bold claim, but it's achievable, and I believe that, and I think that it just needs somebody like myself that's stubborn enough to just take not for an answer, you know, and just keep going. And I'm going to get loads of knockbacks. I'm going to get loads of people doubting me. I'm going to get loads of people laughing at me. I've had it already. I'm still here, and I'm still as determined and passionate as ever. I'll dedicate my whole life to making it so. And I think I'll get, once I get these some of these A-lister celebrities on board, they will bring their fan base. Their fan base will want to buy the book. They will want to give to my Just Giving. They will want to share my videos on Facebook far and wide. And I'm due to go into the Scottish Parliament in the spring to meet them. They know who I am. My book was passed. The motion was passed. 16 members of Parliament passed the motion on my book in Scottish Parliament for my hard work doing for homelessness that I've done already during a pandemic. It's been passed. So Nicola Sturgeon and all the rest of them, they know who I am. I've been invited to go in and meet them. When I get that opportunity to go in and meet them, pretty much maybe less passionate than what I'm coming across now, I'll be more structured. But pretty much ultimately it's the same message. That, you know, I just need a little bit of money to showcase what I can do with a little bit of money. Prove the point. Once I've proved the point, start building and let me get on with doing what I know that I can do well. And that is help people with addiction. You know? But right now, I didn't sleep very well knowing that people are dying of hypothermia in Scotland and it's snowing outside. it doesn't sit very well. So the money that I've raised, I've bought military sleeping bags. I had to get them from Wales. All over Scotland, none. I had to get them from Wales. So all these army surplus stores and stuff. So I've managed to. I've got a couple of pallets delivered. Right now, there are people in Aberdeen, Dundee, Edinburgh, and Fife sitting on the streets with my military sleeping bags that I generated through the sale of my
book. Bouncing bomb. The warmest things in the world, by the way, I think, the sleeping bags.
Exactly, and this is what civilians didn't understand.
Honestly,
Chris, I do live videos about it.
Honestly,
I do live videos and I say, look, you go into B&M, you're £10, and you come out with this wee sleeping bag, right? That maybe day you for tea in the park, right? In fucking June and July or something. That's fine. I say, but when it's snowing, I say is like, and obviously only the serving and the veterans will understand it when that temperature drops like that. These military ones are a godsend, and
100%.
So I got a massive discount on them. I pleaded with the guy down in Wales, told him what they're for. He sent me up a couple of pallets. There's more coming. I've got some army back in as well, finally. Some of the barracks in Edinburgh willing to receive them, and I've been chipping away since the summer and the autumn. I've been chipping away, and slowly I'm proving that I'm not going away. I'm not a flash in the pan, and the army's starting to come round a bit now. So just persevere, just keep going.
Do you know, it's I think one thing that I think is evident through all of these is that you're a guy that doesn't shy away from a challenge, and I think that it's I mean, I've got no doubt that you'll make everything like that, everything that you've just said there. I've got no doubt that that'll come to fruition. I think the one thing I was wanting to talk to you about right at the very beginning, I'm just going to jump back to it, is that you're talking about heroin addicts in general. Do you think it's now, the heroin that's on the street now with fentanyl cut through it and stuff like that, which is the heavy stuff, like, do you think it's harder now for people to get off it than it was beforehand?
Yeah. So heroin has always been cut with other things. I actually smoked brick dust, right? There wasn't any heroin in it, but I thought there might have been, so I smoked it. But with these cutting it with fentanyl and cutting it with the other agents, I just watched a programme about the fentanyl and stuff a few weeks ago. This is something that has come up quite a lot over the last couple of months about my thoughts and my opinions on it, and I can only give my opinion on it. For me, legalise it. Not like the government has to understand, the society has to understand, heroin is not going anywhere.
No.
You can wish it as much as we want. It's never going to go anywhere. People have been taking heroin for thousands of years. They will be taking it for thousands of years time for now. It's always going to be here. People are always going to take it. So rather than risking overdoses and stuff, getting it on the street and drug dealers galore making shitloads of money off other people's misery, if you legalised it, whereas the government for the last 40 years have put methadone in place as a heroin substitute. I've been on methadone. Methadone's not a nice place to be. The only difference is you didn't have to pay for it. You get it for the doctor. You get wasted on methadone. You get absolutely wasted. Same as heroin. So it's clear to me the methadone program is not working. I think as an alternative to them having to go on the street and commit crimes, because that's the nature. That is the nature of it, is that when heroin addicts are needing their fix, they're going away and they're committing crimes. to generate money for their heroin, whereas if they could go to the doctor and they could get their heroin and take it in a safe way, then, you know, they would no longer need to commit as much crime as what they're committing. They would not feel that anxiety about not being able to get it. They may have a better chance of getting off it if a lot of these things are taken out, like the anxiety that addicts go through, the fear in not being able to source heroin because it's a hard drug to get. So, like I said at the start of the video, when the police come and they start busting doors, nobody wants to sell you heroin. So, you know, I think they have to look at something, and for me, legalising all drugs, fucking just legalise them all. Like, that'll soon sort out a lot of problems. Ultimately, it's a mental health is a problem. It's the addiction to the drug that needs fixed. That's the thing that needs looked at, not anything else. It's the way that people's mindset that needs changed. People need to understand that change is possible, but change has to come from within them. No rehab, no the doctor, no your mum and dad, no your pals. Change has to come from within them. And without getting that message across to them, they're just always going to struggle. They're always going to be likely to relapse. And it's just, methadone's no the answer. It just isn't. You know, they've tried it, it's no work to it. We've now got more methadone addicts than anything else. I was on heroin and methadone at the same time, addicted to both of them, walking about like a zombie because the doctor was giving me all this methadone, but I still had a mental addiction to heroin, a mental, no physical. Methadone stopped me from going into cold turkey. So the draw towards heroin wasn't a physical addiction. Methadone took care of that. My mental addiction was the noise and the smell and the taste of heroin, and what it done and how it made me feel in comparison to methadone, which there is obviously change. There is obviously differences. My addiction was to that, so I ended up being addicted on methadone and addicted to heroin at the same time. So it doesn't work. A lot of people that get methadone, they sell their methadone for money to buy heroin. That's reality. You see it going on outside the chemist every Monday, Tuesday morning. If you go, you'll see it. That's what they're doing. The heroin dealers will go there with their bags of heroin and they will swap their bags of heroin for the person's prescription of methadone. And that's the nature of street drugs. That's the way it is. Not just that, you've now got pregabalin, gabapentin, codeine, tramadol, diazepam. You've got all these drugs that are worth money on the street. So you are on all these drugs, you can get a prescription for all these drugs, but a lot of people want to swap those for heroin because they can't get heroin for the doctor. They can get everything but heroin for the doctor. So there's that whole thing where it's, you know, that goes on. And for me, I just think with all this fentanyl that's getting mixed with the heroin, people don't know what they're taking. They don't know the strength of what they're taking. And certainly if you're injecting, right, it's going to happen. It's going to happen too late if something is way stronger than what you thought, or way stronger than what you experienced. The last hit you had off that guy, the last stuff you gave him was mediocre. Looked at it, looks the same. You took it, you got a vein, you stuck it in your body, you got it out your face, you woke up the next day, you go back to the same guy, it gives you something, powder, looks the same, everything looks the same, but what he didn't tell you is he's cut it with fentanyl, or a lot of fentanyl, or whatever. You know any of the advisor is an addict, nor do you care, if I'm being quite frank. You didn't really care when you're in that heroin addict mindset. You just fucking want your drug. So you get it, You're not happy, you've got your drug, get your fucking spoon out, fucking blah, blah, blah. Get it out, right? Get a vein, bang, stick it in your arm. You didn't wake up. So, would that person have stuck that needle in their arm had they known that they weren't going to wake up? Probably not. Would they have taken probably much less of it? More than likely. They're still going to take the drug because they need it. But the amounts and stuff that people are taking, when the strength of the drug's so varied, how can you control that? It needs controlled. This drug problem that we've got in this country needs controlled. If this pandemic has proved the problems with mental health because of COVID. COVID is killing, this lockdown is killing more people than fucking what COVID has. Through suicides, and just people's mental health right now. People didn't even realise that they had mental health problems until March, June, September, Christmas time. They didn't even realise that they had them, and they realise now they've developed them because they've been totally staying in the house, not to see anyone, and people in domestic abuse is rife all over the world, right? Well, that's fucking great, right? Well, you need to stay in. You're not allowed to go out. So these people, since March, have been stuck in a violent, abusive relationship. Do we blame them for what commit suicide? Well, you can't blame people when you back them into a corner like that for no wanting to be in this world anymore. It's horrible. So, sorry for your original question, Greg. I honestly do think that the government could play its part here and just sort of try and help control what's going on with the street drugs and give people an alternative to know and go and take this heroin mixed with fentanyl and maybe no wake up the following day.
Yeah. It's harrowing.
That'll no be, a lot of people will not agree with that. I get that, granted. It's only my opinion after all. But
listen, we had Aidan Martin on the podcast, and he's saying the exact same thing, and he's another person that's been at that stage, where the despair just takes over, and he has the exact same viewpoint as you. I think it's very difficult for someone who has never been in that position to look at a situation with the same perspective that you and Aidan both do, because you guys have seen it from the other side, and you have been around people who are of a similar mindset, and so trying to explain that to Parliament when it's stuck up guys that have never really had an issue like that, they've never had to go and try and score a tenner off somebody so they can get a fix. Do you know what I mean? They've never had that. So trying to explain that to somebody whose reality is so far removed from what yours is, I think that's where the problem is. Because I agree with you. I think I totally think that that it should be legalised and it should be controlled, because like you said, your people, even people taking coke, like you've got during lockdown when people couldn't get a hold of cocaine and stuff like that, it was getting cut with all sorts. Folk are banging that up their beak and they don't know what it is, and folk are you don't know what you're taking. That's ultimately what it is. You don't know what it is you're taking, and these people are going to get it anyway. So why not, one, tax it, make a bit of cash off it, right? And two, you're actually dealing with the illegal street drug problem. And I think for a country like Scotland, where we fucking take more drugs than anywhere else in the world, I think it would solve a larger problem. Yeah, it would definitely and rather than just looking at it like, well, we don't want to give people these drugs and it's a very narrow view. Whereas if you're looking at things on a broader scale and go, right, we know that we're doing it, so let's try and make the best out of a bad situation and try and turn this thing around.
No, you're right. I think you've got to look at it as addiction's an illness rather than
it is an illness, mate.
A criminal activity. I mean, was it Russell Brand, wasn't it? He took it to Parliament as well, and like he was sat there in front of them, and it's like you say, these people are so far removed from it that they just don't. They're not going to. Well, unless there's enough people banging the drum, which, like we say, it's with the mental health thing. There's more and more people talking about these types of things, and it's like you say, exactly like you've said, Greg. If you take it away from the minute you criminalise it, you just send it underground.
Yeah,
send it underground, and everything just becomes this kind of this underworld just kind of takes control of it, and then it just becomes this poisonous activity. And what people want to do is just kind of go, oh, well, that's happening down there. I don't want this.
Look what happened in America when they banned bevy. That's what all the mafia and all these guys were making an absolute fortune when they because folk will still do it. People have been taking drugs since day dot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's folk from Somalia chewing cat because you get a hit off it. Do you know what I mean? Or whether it's somebody who's in the streets jagging heroin. It's the same. It's been happening forever, and it's no. And like you said, it's no going anywhere.
You see what they've done in Portugal? Have you seen what they've done in Portugal?
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
it's for me. It's quite crazy that the drug problems that you've got in this country, right? That they're not looking to Portugal as an example because the crime rate in Portugal has plummeted since they brought into force what they have to do with regards to let's help the addict as opposed to
criminalising them and just back locking them up.
Yeah, it doesn't work. There's as many drugs in the jails as there is outside. More drugs in the jails. So let's follow what Portugal have done. Take a leaf out of their book because they've been the guinea pigs for the programme with regards to addicts. They've been the guinea pigs. It's working. The crime rate has plummeted. If Scotland or the UK want the crime rate to plummet or even drop a little bit, then they have to act on it. And the way to act on it is to follow what Portugal are doing.
Yep.
They've done it and they've maybe made mistakes that they would then pass on to us and say, don't do that, do that, don't do that, do that. We're in a situation right now, in my eyes, where we can't lose.
No, we're already buggered. It's already a problem. Why not try it?
You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Need to try something, guys, because it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, is a definition of insanity, isn't it? Yeah. Something needs to give. Absolutely.
Right, gentlemen. So I'm going to call it an evening there. Paul, listen. Thank you very, very much. That was incredible.
I enjoy it. You could probably tell me.
What an incredible life you've led, and I can, as I said earlier on, in no doubt that you're going to be relentless, and this will change the lives of a lot of people. So I'm going to just sign off just now. So thanks for listening, folks. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons.